Almost 20 years ago, in September 1994, 11,000 participants from every country in the world met in Cairo, Egypt for 10 days at the groundbreaking International Conference on Population and Development, commonly known as the ICPD. The ICPD achieved a remarkable consensus among 179 countries on subjects that were considered then, and remain today, some of the most contentious and controversial and personal issues that define the human experience. Issues like sexuality, reproduction, human rights, minorities, and young people.
The International Conference on Population and Development in September 1994 in Cairo made a huge paradigm shift in the way population issues were looked at, and programs were implemented by the international community and at the individual country level. The whole idea was to make all these issues part of the development process, which was the one reason why the conference was called Population and Development. One of the major shifts that it made was to place the program based on individual rights. The rights came from, of course, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, from that the right to health, and from that the right to reproductive health, which is part of the right to health, which actually placed women at the center of all population programs.
The great achievement of the Cairo Consensus was to move population and development programs away from a focus on numbers to a focus on lives, moving people to the center of development. Delegates from all regions and cultures agreed that reproductive health is a basic human right. The ICPD Program of Action defined the basis for reproductive rights clearly and forthrightly. But the ICPD did not stop with a general statement on the need to ensure reproductive rights. The Program of Action called for integrating population into all aspects of development planning. Concerning reproductive health, it set specific goals and actions for the next 20 years. Reducing infant and maternal mortality, securing universal access to education, particularly for girls, and providing universal access to reproductive health services.
Saudara sekalian, ICPD Cairo tahun 94 sangat berbeda dengan ICPD di tahun 64, di tahun 74, dan di tahun 84. Karena UNFPA sebagai salah satu lembaga PBB mengadakan ICPD itu setiap 10 tahun sekali. Kenapa yang tahun 94 berbeda? Karena pada tahun 94 banyak negara telah melaksanakan salah satu usaha untuk memecahkan masalah kependudukan, yaitu tingkat kelahiran yang tinggi serta ukuran keluarga yang besar. Pada tahun 94 banyak negara yang sudah berhasil dengan program KB-nya, termasuk Indonesia. Sehingga pada tahun 94 itulah kita mulai dengan sungguh-sungguh menempatkan penduduk tidak saja sebagai sasaran pembangunan, tetapi sebagai pemeran pembangunan. Pada tahun 94 pembangunan keluarga untuk pertama kalinya mencuat dan menjadi sasaran ICPD.
Along with the other international conferences of the 1990s, the ICPD formed the background to a unique historical event. In September 2000, all the world's leaders came together in New York for the Millennium Summit. They took on board the work of the ICPD and incorporated its program into the 8 simple-to-state but hard-to-do Millennium Development Goals, calling for results by 2015. How then did Indonesians work to make the ICPD vision a reality? In many ways, Indonesia has been one of the post-Cairo success stories. In terms of family planning, the average number of children born to Indonesian women, the total fertility rate, continued a decline that began in the 1960s. In 1994, fertility had already reached 2.9, a steep drop from nearly 6 in 1965. This means that more and more families have fewer children and are able to provide a better life for them in terms of nutrition, health, education, and future prospects. Better education for women is felt in every part of society, improving, for example, both family health and the health of the country, and it has a direct positive impact on family incomes and national prosperity. Perhaps the biggest success in Indonesia since the ICPD has been in the country's ability to reduce the number of deaths resulting from childbirth, both for mothers and for babies. In just 10 years, from 1997 to 2007, Indonesia was able to cut the infant mortality rate in half, from 65 per thousand to 34. Likewise, the number of women dying in childbirth has declined, from 390 deaths per 100,000 live births at the time of the Cairo conference to today's estimate of 228. One reason for this improvement is that a very high percentage, 93%, of Indonesian mothers receive care from a skilled professional during their pregnancy. These improvements in a short time were not haphazard. They came about because the Indonesian government and civil society returned from Cairo imbued with its spirit, determined to translate the program of action into reality.
ICPD Cairo is 18 years away now. This is some information from Indonesia. Family planning program has adopted more client-oriented approach. Maternal mortality has been reduced with more attention given to women's reproductive health. However, it's remained high and among highest in Asian countries. Provision of information related to adolescent reproductive health has been accepted quite widely. However, services remain a challenge. Right now, it's only provided by the NGOs.
Integrating population concerns, such as aging, migration, and changes in fertility and mortality, into data collection and development planning has taken many forms. For example, the 2010 census was the first and one of the few internationally to ask about maternal mortality. All in all, the improvements in the last 15 years have been striking, but there is much to be done if Indonesia is to realize all of the ICPD goals. The drop in fertility in Indonesia since the 1960s has been dramatic. However, in recent years, the decline has leveled off. Perhaps most striking is the wide variation between different parts of the country, ranging from a low of 1.8 in Yogyakarta to a high of 4.2 in East Nusa Tenggara. These geographical as well as economic and social disparities mean that some couples do not have access to the kinds of contraception they want and need. In fact, 9% of women in Indonesia who say that they do not currently want children or want to postpone the birth of their next child are not using contraception. We have seen that the maternal mortality ratio has declined significantly, but at 228 for every 100,000 live births, it is still higher than the global ratio of 210. That means that women in Indonesia are dying from causes related to childbirth at a higher rate than the international average. According to UNAIDS, the new infection rate for HIV has stabilized globally and has started to decline. But 20 countries in the world still see high rates of new infections, and Indonesia is one of them. The Ministry of Health has estimated that the country will have twice as many people living with HIV in 2014 as it did in 2008. Fueled, as in so many other places, by people who have difficulty in getting the services that they need. Sex workers, transgendered people, men who have sex with men, injecting drug users, and prisoners. The ICPD goal of ending violence against women and children is unrealized throughout the world and remains a challenge in Indonesia as well. As always, the hopes for resolving these problems rest with young people. Right now, Indonesia has approximately 65 million people aged 10 to 24, representing more than a quarter of the total population. As we have seen, education levels are rising quickly, and each succeeding generation will be better equipped to deal with the country's challenges. But how well are they being prepared to understand and deal with questions related to reproduction and population?
Mengenai kesehatan reproduksi dan populasi di sekolah maupun di rumah, saya rasa masih belum cukup. Karena di sekolah, seperti yang saya rasakan, kita hanya mendapatkan pelajaran mengenai kesehatan reproduksi hanya di pelajaran biologi. Dan itu pun hanya satu bab tentang organ reproduksi manusia. Dan kalau kita bandingkan dengan pelajaran kesehatan reproduksi apa yang seharusnya diterima remaja, itu masih sangat jauh dari yang dikatakan cukup. Apakah itu sudah mempersiapkan kita untuk masa depan? Saya rasa itu masih sangat jauh dari mempersiapkan kita untuk masa depan. Dan di rumah pun adalah segan untuk menanyakan pada orang tua, dan orang tua pun kadang segan untuk menceritakan itu kepada anak. Nah, dari situ jelas bahwa kita sebenarnya belum siap untuk menjangkau masa depan. Padahal kalau diberikan pendidikan kesehatan reproduksi yang baik, kita bisa mengambil pilihan yang baik dan juga bisa bertanggung jawab terhadap diri sendiri.
One of the things we see is that young people still are denied or do not have access to proper education, and certainly don't have access to services. So this is an area which is of continuing importance. In today's world, there are 1.4 billion young people in the world, the largest cohort ever. And unless we prepare them properly for their responsible life in the future, they could be either a huge asset or they could be a huge problem.
All of the remaining work needed to realize the goals of the ICPD can be done. All of the challenges can be met. It all depends on how we organize and prepare ourselves for the next 20 years.